Hi, Donna here from Clever Crafters. Thank you for joining me again. We're on day 9 of 12 cards in 12 days for this lovely Christmas series. So here I'm just going through some of my scraps here because what I'm going to do is cut out a whole pile of the small octagon shape that is in the various labels die set, which is of course one of the pieces that we're using in this series. So you can see I've said the small one there, and then I used the larger one to cut the red because I did the same for the label. And I stamped that off camera as well. So my plan is I'm going to see if I can organize these on this piece of cardstock to give me a bit of a background. So this is a matte piece. It's matte cut from the second largest metric rectangle, which is 14.3 centimeters by 10 centimeters. And I'm just gonna pop all of these down, leaving a little bit of a gap. So I didn't make you watch my whole process there, but you can see here that this is the design that I've decided to go with, which I think looks pretty cute. This is a great idea for any leftovers that you might have. So to add a little bit more depth and, another dimension, I guess, to these cards, I have decided to go around the edges with some vintage photos. So this is a Distress Oxide vintage photo, but I'm just using what I had on my dauber. I mean, I use this a lot, so there was quite a bit on there and I was able to do pretty much all of these without re-inking. So now that I've done all of that, simply we're just going to glue it onto the background. You can see that what I did is as I picked them up and put the ink around the edges, I put them back in roughly the same spot. One of the things that is really important about this is that you keep it as straight as possible, because I think that will add to the impact of this as a background. So you can see I'm going to do a couple here and then I'm going to speed it up, but I want to show you the whole process. I'm just putting glue on the second one here and I'm lining up just those little corner pieces and leaving a couple of mil between them. And this way, it makes it easy for me to line up all of them. So make sure the first one is straight, and I'm just using that small section because it's easy to keep that straight and the same sort of distance just by watching. So as I said, I have sped this up quite a lot, but the actual process of sticking all of this down took me around 4 minutes. So it didn't take a great length of time. Anyway, of course, watching 4 minutes on a video of me sticking stuff down would be a little bit dull. Anyway, let me just take this opportunity to say thank you very much for joining me and for your support. If you haven't already subscribed, I'd love you to subscribe. If you have subscribed, I'd love you to give me a little thumbs up because that helps me a lot. And if you could share the video or write a comment, that also helps me. So we're just about done with this process here. And just gluing on the last piece, I think I'm going to slow back down a bit now. Yep. And I'm just going to flip that over and I'm going to cut all of those edges off. So you can do it from the front if you want. I just find it easier to line it up from the back. And once again, you don't need to watch me do all of this. So I'm going to do a little bit and then we will skip over to the next part of the process. So I decided that it was a little bit plain. I was a bit concerned about it. And because I had the red around the label, I thought, like around my greeting, I thought, yeah, let's put red around this. So that's the wrong size rectangle. But this one is a bit smaller. So that's great. So this is the third size in. So I cut that. And while I was at it, I cut the red card to the correct size as well, using the second largest metric rectangle. So now you can see that fits on there with that lovely edge around it. However, I don't have a great deal of this red left. So I decided I didn't want to waste it in the background. So I'm taking a smaller metric rectangle. That one is the same size as my other card, so probably not small enough. So I'm going to go for one smaller again. And I'm going to use that to cut a hole in my card because no one's going to see that because this other piece is going to be covered over it. So it's a great way to conserve some cardstock. So I happen to have this crochet, I think it's called Mocha, this crochet cotton that I had on my desk from one of the other projects, or maybe, I can't remember whether it's one of these or not. And I decided to see how it would look, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I think that'll be a nice addition. So I've wrapped it around 3 times now. I'm just going to tie a bow. Now I fiddled with the bow for a little bit. So I decided that you couldn't see anything anyway, so cutting it out would be okay. And you can see that I've got my bow there and I've made those strings a little bit uneven. I'm going to pop some glue. This is the Smart Art glue right around the edges of the back of this card and pop it on to the little red matte piece that's got a big hole out of it. but not that you can tell. So once I did that, I put some double-sided tape around the edges on the back. And now I am just removing each corner. You would have seen me burnish that with my bone folder. When you push that double-sided tape into your card like that, it's really easy to remove the release paper, or certainly a lot easier. So because I've moved up those two corners, I was able to use the other corners to line it up that weren't going to stick, and then I could easily remove the rest of the release paper, and that's nice and flat. I do want a little bit of dimension on this, so I decided to add some double-sided foam tape, and for my greeting. And just as an aside, the little pieces that I put on, the octagons that I put on, I think that you could pop some of those up. I think it would look really cool if some of them were popped up as well. Anyway, I didn't do it this time. I decided to keep them nice and flat. And I'm just going to finish off by popping some glue on the back of my greeting and position that on my card. I did cut out a piece there where I was flipping and flopping that all over the card to see where I wanted to put it. And here is my finished card. I'm really happy with how this looked. I'm going to do this for a lot of different cards. I think you could make backgrounds out of all sorts of different scrap papers and they would just come up beautifully. You wouldn't even have to use them. It would just be something fun to do if you didn't have your mojo and put them aside and use them on a later day. I really appreciate you spending time with me today. I look forward to you joining me again for card number 10. Until then, please stay safe and happy crafting.